My work celebrates how we mend things, how we cope, how the objects are somehow witnesses also of our existence and reminds us of our frailties and vulnerabilities. Hi, I'm Marina Cruz. I'm a visual artist from the Philippines. The themes I try to evoke through my works are about the objects that revolves the human body, the family, domesticity, and environment at large. I make paintings, sculptures, and explore on different iterations of the subject matter. As an artist, we also have different roles. I'm a mom also, an accidental publisher and bookseller. During the pandemic, we became homeschoolers. My husband, Randell, created the card games about history because he's the one who's teaching the kids about Philippine history, Araling Panlipunan. Some of the parents wanted to try it too, and then we decided why not make these card games available for many. So we produced it. And then we decided, let's try to create some educational material. So we started with little comics and card games and stuff like that. We discovered that we love creating tangible objects and publications. Ever since our practice when we were still in the university, we will make catalogs of our works. Self-publishing is really innate to us. We make our own publications with our themes, the stories of the dresses. We also collaborated with other artists to create a book that's their book, artist authored. We are very happy with the collaborations that we try to make. Later on, after operating for almost a year now, we learned that the people who go to the bookshop wanted to have some coffee, maybe, and they're leaving notes that the bookshop is so nice, but I hope there's coffee. So we decided, okay, let's do something like a coffee shop. And so now it becomes a third space for the community where we can just commune. Sometimes we have poetry nights, and every Friday we have readings for the kids. We just celebrate listening to stories being told to again. So it's a lost art in a way, and we try to believe that these little things can have an impact in the community. The body of work for the show, which I entitled Fractured Fabrics, is new and not so new. It was 2002 when I'm very much drawn into works that are abstract or non-figurative. I just wanted to go back to the time where I wanted to look into materials, the textures, and depict them in their materiality. I very much liked the process of print and colograph at the time. I wanted to do something looking for specific material, but then accidentally I discovered the baptismal dresses of my mom that coincides to the news that she has emphysema. When I discovered her baptismal, holding her like a baby kind of made it a surreal feeling, a pivotal feeling, and like an exchange of roles where you are taking care of your mom. And then you suddenly realize that we are very much fragile and vulnerable and we're not forever. After 2 decades or more, I wanted to go back to myself, wherein here's a material that I'm looking for, a bandage or gauze. This show will also explore that the material is very much part of the actual painting. There are 3 parts of the show. One is the photorealist paintings of the dresses, celebrating the fragility and all the stitches and mends through time. The texture is simulated through the process of painting. The second is having another work that refrains to use the brush, the bristles, and more on the palette and celebrating the textures and making the threads and the fabric interact with the process to create the images. And then the third is using actual fabric that just play around with the image of portraits and decoration and journal. Just wanted to show the raw attributes of drawing and sewing together. Looking into these works, I think when I'm doing the paintings, especially the second series wherein I do the imprinted textiles, it made me go back to my old home in Hagonoy, Bulacan. This town where we used to live is a town near the coast, very much near Manila Bay. Flooding is part of life. And that series of the trays helped me remember the times when flood will come in and will leave, and they will leave remnants of the soil. And of course, I have to clean everything and mop everything. And then the next day they will come again, this visitor, and then they will leave again. I think that's also part of the process, that environment where I was situated. This place in Bulacan ages faster than other parts of Bulacan and other parts of the country. You have to adjust the floors, the doors, then the windows become doors. And the architecture of the ancestral house or the house of my grandmother is always changing. Like the body that is always fractured and repaired. And this whole fabric, like the family and your way of life is being disturbed, but also you're just used to it. So it's a micro dystopian kind of world, but you have to deal with it. I wanted to connect that this works is no different than the new works. What ties them together is the environment that I lived in. I really witnessed aging of the environment. This black painting, dikes and ribbons. Underneath that, you can see the patterns of the flowers made from crochet. There seems like a corals and celebration of plantation underneath. And then you get to see the impressions of ribbons and the lace that I did here that mimics like the dikes in the coast. I grew up with this. I would go to the dikes and the Pilapil and just spend my afternoon there. Looking at it like fine lines and like intestines, it gives you that feeling of smallness. It also gives you a vast feeling of the environment. How little are you sometimes in the spans of tragedy and flood? My works basically just questions those ideas of what's home for you, what's family for you, what gives you grounding, what gives you something to hold on to, like structure. Because if you don't have anything to hold on to, you can easily be swept by floods. You can easily be swept by challenging times. I grew up with a very strong maternal grandmother. That's why I'm very much influenced by what she created. Her parents did not want her to study because she's a woman, but she moved away from the house, tried to find ways how she can fund herself to study. And she was able to do it. She became a teacher. She became a principal while doing these garments. Very frugal and also very strict. But I grew up with that kind of women where it's possible to do things even if things are not on your way. It's also a tribute to her, actually. There are beauty in fragility, and imperfections are okay. The more that you know that it's okay not to be perfect, it will give you more freedom. These clothes are witnesses of repairs and adjustments. It also shows the values before, that we don't just throw away things, we repair them, and it was carefully mended. It kind of records the different bodies of the generations of women that impacted me as a person. I'm just a vessel to to somehow make it in these forms. The smaller works is like my warm-up during exhibitions. If I feel I needed to start something, I'll just draw something from a very light material, just a small canvas, and I just find myself always working on a portrait. It just loosens my overthinking. I made them as collage elements, wherein I sew this fabric to another fabric. I tried to make the canvas look like pad paper. I sew red lines to have those grids. So it's also like, it's okay. You can color outside lines. You can mess up sometimes. Clothes are the most ordinary objects that we deal every day. We're clothed by it, we use it, we laundry and iron our fabrics. And when we sleep with our fabrics. When we look at the window, there's curtains. We are surrounded by it. I want them to look into the gallery and look at the fabric in this fragmented way. When you put them into frames, you get to see them more. Suddenly, it becomes a poetry. I remember my mom saying, ang ganda pala nung mga sira-sira na damit namin, pag na-paint na. These are not just ready-made fabrics. These are fabrics made by different women, worn by them, and now being presented into this light.